Welcome to Circle 10 News, where science, technology, sports, and weather are not side segments. They are the pulse of how you live, work, and play. Tonight, we connect the breakthroughs in labs and startups to the screens in your hand, the games on the field, and the storms on your horizon. From new discoveries and disruptive tech to headline-making rivalries and extreme weather events, we show you how innovation, competition, and climate shape your health, your time, and your safety. Clear stories, sharp visuals, no hype. So you see the whole circle. This is Circle 10 News, Part 2, Science, Technology, Sports, and Weather. Stay with us. The next few minutes may change how you see tomorrow.
Good evening, I'm Miles Kepler, and this is your monthly science and technology update. June has been packed with breakthroughs, from space exploration to artificial intelligence and medical science. Let's start in space. On June 10th, NASA named the crew for Artemis III, a 2027 test flight, aiming to return humans to the moon and lay the groundwork for a sustained presence there. With new landing sites near the lunar South Pole, and science goals that include studying water ice and testing tech for future Mars missions. Just days earlier, on June 4, NASA confirmed it was shutting down the MAVEN spacecraft after about a decade studying Mars' atmosphere. In orbit since 2014, MAVEN helped scientists understand how Mars lost much of its air and water. With fuel nearly gone and instruments aging, the mission is ending as newer spacecraft and future crewed plans take center stage. Space wasn't the only arena in motion this month. On June 24, space agency leaders from the BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, met in India to deepen cooperation on satellites, climate monitoring, and deep band space research, highlighting how space has become central to the ambitions of rising powers. Back on Earth, AI and computing moved just as fast. On June 10, Reliance Industries and Meta announced plans for India's first AI-enabled hyperscale data center in Gujarat, positioning the country as a key player in cloud and AI infrastructure across Asia. June also brought news on sustainable AI. On June 4, Microsoft introduced its Fairwater data center concept, focused on energy-efficient cooling and renewable power, underscoring that the AI story is now about hardware locations and energy use. Science Roundups also highlighted new research suggesting that glucosamine, or a popular joint hepain supplement, may be linked to higher risk of progressing from mild cognitive impairment to Alzheimer's disease, raising calls for closer scrutiny of long-term supplement use. Finally, AI policy and governance stepped into the spotlight. In mid-June, the White House emphasized how a new AI order is reshaping standards for safety and transparency, while researchers proposed more agile models of governance and international bodies began publishing deeper analysis of AI's economic impact. The message is clear. AI has become a central economic and regulatory issue, not a side project. Taken together, June's science and technology stories show a world moving on several fronts at once. New crews preparing to return to the moon, long-running missions wrapping up, AI infrastructure and rules taking shape, and medical and environmental tools steadily advancing in the background. I'm Miles.
June has been a heavyweight month for sports. The 2026 NBA Finals tipped off on June 3 with the New York Knicks visiting the San Antonio Spurs in Game 1 at Frost Bank Center in San Antonio, led by Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns for New York and Victor Wembanyama up front for the Spurs. The global spotlight then shifted to football as the 2026 FIFA World Cup kicked off on June 11 at Estadio Azteca in Mexico City, where co-hosts Mexico opened Group A with a 2-0 win over South Africa, powered by goals from Julian Quiñones and Raúl Jiménez in front of a crowd of more than 80,000. From there, the tournament moved across Mexico, the United States, and Canada, with early group stage matches delivering late drama and early upsets and setting the tone for a packed summer of international soccer. One of the most anticipated nights in RB this month lands in Los Angeles. On June 25, 2026, Summer Walker brings her Still Finally Over It tour to Crypto.com Arena for a 7 to 30 pages show built around her Over It and Still Over It catalogs, with a full arena-level production for fans in downtown LA. Elsewhere on the touring circuit, Doja Cat continues her arena and festival run through June, delivering high-energy performances of Paint the Town Red and other hits with choreography and staging that have kept her near the center of the live performance conversation this summer. And on the festival side, Olivia Rodrigo made headlines on June 21, 2026, by announcing Guts Fest, a new music festival featuring acts such as Kat Shea and Chappell Roan, with dates and ticket information starting to roll out and fans already planning trips around that lineup reveal. In theaters, June has delivered clear box office milestones. Steven Spielberg's sci-fi thriller Disclosure Day opened on June 12, 2026, led by Emily Blunt, Josh O'Connor, Colin Firth, Eve Hewson, and Coleman Domingo. Over its first weekend, June 12-14, Disclosure Day earned roughly $44 million domestic and around $93 million worldwide, marking one of Spielberg's strongest openings for an original film in years and drawing audiences across markets including the United Kingdom, Mexico, France, and Germany. Just a week later, Pixar and Disney's Toy Story 5 arrived in U.S. theaters on June 19, 2026, featuring the voices of Tom Hanks, Tim Allen, Joan Cusack, and Greta Lee, and delivered a record start. The film took in around $160 million domestic and about $312 million worldwide in its opening frame, giving Toy Story 5 the biggest opening weekend of 2026 so far and the largest in Toy Story franchise history, as well as one of the largest openings ever for an animated feature. Box office tracking placed the domestic opening at just under $160 million from more than 400 locations, with totals quickly climbing toward $175 million domestic and beyond $325 million worldwide in the days that followed, firmly establishing Toy Story 5 as June's dominant box office force. From the opening whistle of the World Cup in Mexico City, to Summer Walker's Arena Night in Los Angeles, to Disclosure Day and Toy Story 5 drawing crowds in theaters, June 2026 has kept fans busy on the field, on stage, and on screens.
Good evening, I'm Winter Weather, and this is your monthly climate and conditions update. Across the country this June, the big story has been extremes. Out west, a mega heat wave settled in around June 20th, driving temperatures well above normal from the Rockies to the Pacific and setting the stage for dangerous wildfires. In Utah's DeWabb County, the Iron Fire was first detected on Saturday, June 20th, and by Sunday it had burned more than 30 square miles, forcing the evacuation of the town of Eureka, southwest of Salt Lake City. Nearby Arizona saw a separate blaze near Sedona over the same weekend, burning steep terrain in Oak Creek Canyon and pushing hundreds of firefighters into rugged country. Farther east, heavy rain has been the main threat. On the nights of June 13th and 14th, repeated rounds of severe thunderstorms swept across parts of Missouri and neighboring states, producing tornadoes, damaging winds, and flash flooding. Rivers and low water crossings rose quickly, and at least 2 people died in floodwaters during that event. The pattern has continued into late June, with forecasters warning that multiple waves of storms from the plains to the East Coast could bring more flash floods, hail, and isolated tornadoes through the week of June 20th. Let's talk temperatures. NOAA's national climate summaries show this spring and early summer running warmer than average, and the Northeast, for example, just logged its ninth warmest spring on record, about 2 degrees above normal from March through May. Nighttime temperatures staying high during heat waves make it harder for the body to recover, and that's one reason we've already seen heat-related deaths this month, including 3 hikers in separate incidents in the Grand Canyon region. On the moisture side, warmer air is feeding more intense rain events. When those storm systems stall all like they did over the central U.S. in mid-June, they can drop several inches of rain in just a few hours. Storm drains, rivers, and levees aren't built for that kind of sudden volume, so we see familiar scenes cars stranded on flooded roads, basements filling up, and small communities suddenly cut off. That's exactly what played out around June 13th and 14th, and forecasters say similar setups are likely as we move into July. Wildfires remain a major concern. Research this month from UC Merced highlighted how heat waves are now a critical driver of burned area in the western United States. Forest land burned in summer has more than doubled since 2001, and roughly 64% of that increase happened during or immediately after heat waves. In other words, the kind of hot, dry stretch we're seeing right now is exactly when fires are most likely to explode and hardest to control. And behind these individual events is a larger backdrop. NOAA's climate outlooks note that El Niño conditions are present and expected to strengthen into the coming winter, which tends to shift storm tracks and can amplify extremes in some regions. Combined with longer-term warming, that means the new normal is more volatile, hotter heat waves, heavier downpours, and longer fire seasons. So what do we do with all this, month to month? First, know your local risks. If you're in the West, that means paying attention to fire weather warnings and evacuation notices like the ones issued for Eureka, Utah, and areas near Sedona. If you're in the central or eastern U.S., that means watching for flash flood alerts during multi-day storm outbreaks. Second, track air quality reports, especially during heat waves and wildfire season, because smoke and ozone can travel far beyond the flames. And third, recognize that these events aren't random flukes. Quote, they match the long-term trends scientists have been documenting for decades. This month's weather is more than a series of headlines. It's a snapshot of a planet warming, an atmosphere holding more energy and moisture, and local systems being pushed to the edge. My job is to help you connect those dots morning and get ready for what comes next. I'm Winter Weather. Stay safe and stay with us.
You have just seen how science, technology, sports, and weather are not background noise. They are the signals of where tomorrow is heading. From the lab bench to the locker room, from the data center to the storm front, these stories will keep reshaping your world long after tonight's broadcast ends. We will be here to track every breakthrough, every game, every gadget, every defining moment, and every shift in the skies, so you are never caught off guard. Thanks for watching Circle 10 News Part 2, Science, Technology, Sports, and Weather. Until next time, stay prepared and stay in the circle.